sitting.
Need to understand it.
Hello, you are at the Metropolitan Council meeting. My name is Reva Chambliss. I'm Vice Chair of the Metropolitan Council, and I'll be chairing the meeting in Chair Zelli's absence. Today is April 24th, 2024. Our first item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. Typically, we have no need to approve the agenda unless there are changes. Are there any changes? Also, I will consider the agenda approved. Our second item is approval of the April 10th Metropolitan Council minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
It's been moved. Seconded?
Second.
It's been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That motion carries to approve the minutes. Next, we have public invitation on our agenda. Interested persons may address the council on matters not on the agenda. Pre-registration is required, and each speaker is limited to a 3-minute presentation. And it looks like we have several people that are interested in presenting, and if you can come up as I call your name. The first person, Donna Sanders. Please state your name and your organization.
Yep. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, great. Okay, my name is Donna Sanders, and I'm the business specialist with the West Broadway Business and Area Coalition in North Minneapolis. I have worked at WBC for 20 months now, and one of my first job duties was to attend a BLRT meeting in September of 2022. I'm in charge of doing outreach on West Broadway to all the businesses, the faith centers, the nonprofits, and the neighborhood groups. And I need to begin by saying that 90% of these groups are against the light rail going down West Broadway. You know, they feel that West Broadway is too narrow and that the displacement is going to be too significant. And I might add that one of the bigger problems is the BLRT outreach that's been done on West Broadway over the last 2 years that I've been there. It's been poor. Quite frankly, I realize that outreach is important in order to get public financing. But basically, the outreach people go into the business or faith center, introduce themselves, tell them about the next meeting that's coming up, and they leave. I've been the person that has been telling the businesses about what the concerns are, the parking issues. They talk to me about parking issues. They talk to me about the width of the street. They talk to me about the displacement. I have told 8 to 9 businesses that their buildings will be affected and that there will be eminent domain involved. No one told them that. No BLRT outreach person told them that their building was going to be displaced. And you know, I belong to the Business Advisory Committee. I attend the vast majority of corridor management committees and have gone to a number of public meetings. And what we get is we get a picture of a map at each meeting, and this has been going on for 20 months, of a map that just shows the route. It gives no details on the width of the street, how wide the train's going to be, how close it is to the sidewalk, how close it is to the buildings. We see no impact at all. It's the same brain-numbing meeting time after time again. And when we talk about our concerns, our questions aren't answered. We're told that we're not far enough along, and you have to wait until the process is further. But I've been in contact with people on the Green Line on University Avenue who went through this 5-6 years ago, and they were told that there were maps on the walls that showed the exact dimensions of the trains, where it was at the sidewalk, where it was near the building, what was the impact. We get none of that. So what's happening, probably one of the big reasons why people are so against the LRT is because they're not getting their fears, they're not getting their concerns addressed. They're not getting their questions addressed. And it feels like it's going to be one more public transportation that's going to plow through a Black community and displace all the tenants. It's going to be another Rondo, it's going to be another South Minneapolis. So I really felt the need to tell you that the outreach has got to be better. It has got to be better. It's got to be more details. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the list, we have signed up Crystal Porter.
She will be here momentarily. If you could put her at the end of the list, that'd be great.
Okay. Next on the list is Steve Westman.
Might as well put it up right.
Mr. Westman, if it's easier, you can stand or sit. It's up to you.
Okay, I'll just set this up here so everybody can see it. My name is Steve Westman. I live in North Minneapolis, and I'm going to talk about the Lowry Station. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Lowry Station that's going to come through on the blue line, or I should say, yes, the extension blue line. Anyway, I just want you to know that it's kind of an odd station because it goes through an X. Most train state crossings only have one where thing comes down. This is at an X, at an angle. It's going to have two. I think it's kind of dangerous and odd, to be honest with you. Other than that, also, my map doesn't show it, but it's got, when you go up the hill to the hospital, you have to, this is going to have to get down at ground level. They're going to have to dig a trench, and this trench is going to be huge for this train. It's going to be like 30 feet wide and maybe 24 feet deep from the ground of where the tracks will be to the bridge up above it. So that train is going to be coming out of not a tunnel, but a trench that's almost like a tunnel. It's going to come really close to where everything is, and especially on people that are on the bike paths and that kind of stuff. Also, Mike, what did I want to say here? Parking's going to be a problem there for the local residents because there is no parking there for people that want to get off and on the train. And I'm sure that people are going to commute a little ways at least to get off and on it. Also, the pathways that they have presented, they have no real stop signs on the paths, you know what I mean? The bike paths and the pedestrians paths. So people are just going to have to be on the lookout for the trains, and they'll be blinking and all that. And I just wanted to show you there's a path that goes down where I don't know if it's going to be cut off or what, but the old path goes right in front of where the train tunnel is going to be, or I should say trench, let's say. And I'm just saying it's a confusing, thing that I don't think is going to really work, and I hope you can come up with something better, or else just drop the whole plans, because it's dangerous. It's still a long ways to walk to the hospital. People that get out, to walk to the hospital, it's a good over a quarter mile, at least for maybe not for the doctors and nurses, but for the patients and visitors. And I just don't believe it's a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on our list is Jerome Johnson.
You bet. Take half and give them to the other.
Either of these work?
Yes.
Okay, as you pointed out, I'm Jerome Johnson. I'm a retired transportation economist. I'm here today basically to talk about the Blue Line and the implications of a couple of recent media events concerning directly the Riverview Line, but that will impact the Blue Line. First, I wanted to do one thing. I've wanted to do this for years. I regularly ride the 54 to and from the airport. I want to simply say thanks. It's just a first-rate service. It runs when there's 6 inches of snow. It runs when Uber's broken down. The drivers are great. It runs on time. The Riverview people, when they come along and sell an on-street modern streetcar, are going to be hard-pressed to beat what's out there today. And that's kind of forms the impetus of what I want to say in the time I have remaining. Because there's so much to say, I've distributed handouts. The front of the handout is basically an outline of what I would say if I had about an hour. The second page, though, shows detailed estimates that I have made of how the Blue Line extension on-street, modern streetcar is going to perform under various routes. And then on the left column, I show how various BRT routes and services is going to perform. Now, in that context, one of the media events I want to highlight took place about a month ago when both the Minneapolis and St. Paul papers real quickly ran articles on the performance of Riverview, the modern streetcar. And they basically estimated that it was going to run slower between virtually any origin destination pair you want to come up with, aside from Terminal 2. It's going to run slower than the 54 and that their proposed BRT system. Guess what's going to happen with Blue Line extension? The Riverview line on West 7th cuts diagonally through what is otherwise a square street grid, but it's flat and it's straight. Bottineau Blue Line extension is going to cut through a square grid along West Broadway, but there are going to be hills and curves. If the Riverview streetcar down West 7th is going to be a mile an hour or two slower than the 54, what do you think is going to happen with the Blue Line extension running on rails down hilly, curvy West Broadway and then hilly, busy Bottineau Boulevard? I've outlined that on the front page of the takeaway. I would go on to say that there are a handful, half a dozen other items applying to the Blue Line extension that mirror what we've seen on Riverview. So in closing, for action, I would encourage you to think very hard about implementing a low-cost, high-frequency bus rapid transit line along West Broadway. And secondly, apparently there's a Senate bill out there now that's just been introduced, SF 5460 in the state legislature. And basically what it does, says call timeout on any rail-based transit systems till we see how the Southwest Light Rail performs. I would strongly recommend that, counterintuitive as it may seem to the Met Council, to take that seriously. Take the opportunity to call timeout, let the dust settle, and then see what happens. In the meantime, put something in place for the north side and the northwest suburbs that will truly perform at a low cost and with minimal disruption. Thank you.
Thank you. That's 3 speakers. Looks like there's another one. Crystal Porter just arrived. Do you have time to prepare yourself to speak?
I can talk, or would you like me to stand?
At any of the microphones or sit if you
You can
wish
talk or
as well.
sit.
Hi, my name is Christelle Porter. I'm the Executive Director of West Broadway Business and Area Coalition in North Minneapolis. I'm also a resident. And there's a couple things that I wanted to point out on the line, and it's something that we have brought up earlier, probably several times. I actually have video footage when we did a light rail walking tour in September of 2023, and it is the portion in front of the YMCA. It's a youth YMCA on West Broadway. And directly across the street from it is the Beam affordable housing that was just built in the last couple of years. About $58 million to build that property up for housing for the families there. The neighborhood is filled with small children. If you drive by there at any given time when school's out, there's 30 kids out there running around, literally butting up right next to West Broadway Avenue. And then right across the street, of course, is that youth YMCA, which is very, very active and very busy during out of school times. Behind that YMCA is the North Commons Park. And behind North Commons Park is North High School. Very heavy traveled youth area. Like I said, this has been pointed out to the project team on several occasions, and when they came to the Capri Theater on Monday of last week, I had pointed it out again because no changes have been made, and they responded as if I had never, or they never heard it before. Now, if you look at the map, and if you look at the project right there, there is one lane going east and one lane going west, and then there's train tracks in the middle. There's no way for a car to pull over if there were emergency vehicle passing through. And oftentimes in the summertime, we do have, unfortunately, West Broadway tends to be an area where, drag racers and people with fancy cars like to hang out and do fun things in the middle of the street. So if we end up in that situation, my question to the project team was, if a train is coming down the street and emergency vehicle or a high-speed chase is happening, and there's children playing in that whole one block area, where does the car go? Where do they pull over? There was no answers. They could not address it. They couldn't answer me. And like I said, they acted as if they had never heard this comment before, which, like I said, in September 2023, I have video footage of people bringing attention to it, including Adway Pugh, who is the executive director of Jordan Area Community Council, who brought it up several times as well. So that is one thing that I would like to address with this project. And then the other piece is the new Lowry Avenue stop. In order for it to stop on Lowry Avenue, should I say the Parkway, to come down on the Parkway, just recently, Met Council, I believe, spent about $13.5 million on just recently building that bridge in the last few years. Actually, 2021 was when it was completed, in November 2021, December 2021. And it's a brand new bridge. In order to put the light rail between those bridges to bring it down, you would need 30 feet. Right now, there's only 17 feet between the two bridges, so you would have to tear down that bridge again, which rerouted those neighbors for over a year. So that's my input. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate all of your comments, and they have been recorded. Our next item of business is the consent items, of which we have 6 items. I would like to ask for a motion to approve the items on consent.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Carter,
Second?
seconded by Councilmember Johnson. Any discussion? Without any discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? That motion carries. All the consent items are approved. Next on the agenda, we have non-consent business, and we have reports from our standing committees. The first committee is our Community Development Committee, 2021-91 Regional Parks and Trails System Competitive Equity Grant Program Funding Recommendations.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Council members, business item 2024-91 is a motion to award 22 projects totaling up to $2,055,500 in this round of the Regional Parks Equity Grant Program. The 2040 Regional Parks Policy Plan committed the council to develop a competitive equity grant program. The program was formally established in 2019 through a pilot program using council bonds for capital funding that resulted in funding 3 projects. In 2021, the program was expanded to include the use of parks interest earnings to fund programming and non-capital projects in addition to the capital funds. 23 projects were funded for a total of $2 million. Similar funding levels were established for the 2024 program, with just over $2 million available for capital and programming projects. For the 2024 grant cycle, the council received 22 applications. A review committee, including Councilmember Lindstrom, Councilmember Wolf, and myself, along with staff and representatives from park agencies, reviewed and scored the projects and developed funding recommendations. After removing ineligible components from 2 projects, there is enough funding available to support each of the projects that submitted grant requests. as is being recommended tonight by the review committee. These funding recommendations were approved both by MPOSC and CDC. Therefore, Madam Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council approve funding 22 projects totaling up to $2,055,500 for the Regional Parks and Trails System 2024 Equity Grant Program as shown in Table 1 of this report, and authorize the Executive Director of Community Development to execute the grant agreements and associated amendments on behalf of the council.
Thank you for that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Lindstrom. Any discussion? Councilmember Vento.
I want to just say, Madam Chair, that the review committee was a great committee. It required a lot of reading and scoring and preparation. We had a great meeting, and frankly, I'm kind of grateful that there were parts of 2 of those requests that were ineligible because we got to make everybody happy, at least to some extent. But it was a great experience. It's the first time that I've been a part of this particular grant review team, and I just want to commend our Parks and Trails staff for the great work that they did on it, led by Emmett Mullen and his team. They just do a terrific job. I also want to note that our park agency staff has really, they've really stretched themselves in terms of the kind and the quality of grant requests that they're submitting. So we're very fortunate. We have great partners in each of those 10 agencies. Thank you very much.
Very good. Any other discussion or comments? Seeing none, is there a second?
Oh, we have a second.
Oh, I'm sorry, we already have a second. So with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Nay, the motion carries. Next on the agenda, we have the environment report by Lindstrom.
Thank you. 2 items from the Environment Committee today. The first one is dealing with environmental permitting assistance. This is business item 2024-80, and it requests that the council authorize the administrator to award and execute contracts 23P092A-C. And this is for wastewater treatment plant environmental permitting assistance for a amount not to exceed $2 million. These permitting assistance contracts will help with our capital program and other plant permitting work. This value is based on the level of effort in 3 different areas: air quality permitting, water quality permitting, and waste management compliance. The work scope and contract value were distributed among 3 recommended proposers, and those are Barr Engineering Company, Brown and Caldwell, and Stantec. The contract has a disadvantaged business enterprise participation goal of 17%. All 3 proposers met those DBE requirements. A consensus was reached that the proposals submitted by the reference list of proposers are the most advantageous to the council. Therefore, Madam Chair, and members of the council, I move that the Met Council authorize the regional administrator to award and execute contracts 23P092A-C for wastewater treatment plant environmental permitting assistance for a cumulative not to exceed amount of $2 million in service areas and amounts as stated in business item 2024-80.
Thank you for that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Osman. Any discussion? No discussion, so seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay, that motion carries. Thank you. Another one?
Thank you. One more. This relates to a project in the great city of Minneapolis, and it is business item 2024-81, and it requests that the council authorize the administrator to execute a cooperative construction agreement with the city of Minneapolis for the design and construction of access improvements to interceptors 1-MN-310 and 1-MN-330 for an amount not to exceed $3.5 million. Last fall, the city began replacing Sanitary sewer at Plymouth Avenue as part of a project on 2nd Street North. The 2nd Street North sanitary sewer replacement project. This spring, the city will reconstruct 1st Avenue South between Lake Street and Franklin Avenue, which will provide an opportunity for environmental services to replace a 126-year-old brick access structure. Yes, that's how old they get in the city of Minneapolis. Staff recognized that replacing the entire structure is a more suitable way to address deteriorating structures in the area. The city and MCES have proposed to enter into a cooperative construction agreement to equitably share the costs of these improvements. Therefore, members of the council, I move that the council and administrator execute a cooperative construction agreement with the city of Minneapolis for the design and construction of access improvements to interceptors 1-MN-310 and 1-MN-330 for an amount not to exceed $3.5 million.
Thank you for that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I heard Cedarburg. Okay, we'll take that. Any discussion?
All three of us are going for it.
With no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay, motion carries. So our next item and report is from the Management Committee. No reports. Transportation, Deb Barber.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, council members, business item number 2024-95 is regarding electric bus and charger purchase for Low No Grant 2021. This covers the purchase of 8 40-foot electric buses to be used on regular routes and 6 depot charges from Gillig utilizing the Washington State Master Cooperative Contract. Business item number 2022-260, presented on October 12, 2022, authorized the use of the State of the Washington Department of Enterprise Services Cooperative Agreement for purchasing of rolling stock, including electric buses and charging infrastructure. The council executed Joint Powers Cooperative Agreement 22I002 with the State of Washington Department of Enterprise Services to utilize the master contract number 06719-01. The Washington State Cooperative Contract is FTA compliant, including meeting DBE requirements. Only those transit vehicle manufacturers listed on FTA's eligible transit vehicle manufacturers list or that have submitted a goal methodology to FTA that has been approved or has not been disapproved at the time of solicitation are eligible. To remain eligible, TVMs must submit their DBE goal methodology to FTA by August 1st of each year. FTA has determined Gillig has met the DBE requirements for transit vehicle manufacturers. Metro Transit's zero-emission transition plan calls for 20% of 40-foot bus replacement procurements from 2022 to 2027 to be battery electric buses. This action would continue to advance this plan. Therefore, Madam Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to execute contract 24P077 to exercise bus purchase options utilizing the State of Washington's master contract 06719-01 with Gillig to purchase 8 40-foot electric buses and 6 electric bus chargers for the council's regular route service in an amount not to exceed $13,713,087,000. And no cents.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Vento. Any discussion? Go ahead.
Yeah, just wanted to say how pleased I am to see this this afternoon. We're sticking to our plan. You know, we put a lot of work into that zero emission plan, and we're sticking to it. I like the fact that we're using this master contract from Washington that is way more efficient. Thank you, State of Washington, for working out all the kinks that we can tap into that. And the fact that we're looking for grant opportunities to purchase, to make these expensive purchases is super valuable as well. So on all levels, kudos.
Very good. Agreed. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay, that motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Business item number 2024-98 is regarding electric bus and charger purchase Low-No Grant 2023. This covers the purchase of 12 40-foot electric buses to be used on regular routes, 12 depot, and 4 mobile maintenance charges from Gillig utilizing the Washington State Master Cooperative Contract. Again, the business item in 2022 authorized the use of the state of the Washington Department of Enterprise Services Cooperative Agreement for these types of purchases. As discussed previously, the Washington State Cooperative Contract is FTA compliant, including meeting the DBE requirements. And as also mentioned, and to Councilmember Lindstrom's point, Metro Transit's zero-emission transit system plan calls for 20% of our 40-foot bus replacement procurements from 2027 to 2022 to 2027 be electric buses, and this will continue to advance that. And this is sort of that ongoing continuation of looking for other opportunities and way to supplement how we access funds to help accelerate this program. Therefore, Madam Chair, I move that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to execute contract 23P142 to exercise bus purchase options utilizing the State of Washington Master Contract 06719-01 with Gillig to purchase 12 40-foot electric buses and 16 electric bus chargers for the council's regular route service in an amount not to exceed $20,449,000.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Carter. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay, that motion carries. We do not have joint reports, and we do have other business. Our chair has made some appointments of our new advisory committee members. Let me pull that up. That's 2024-111. Is there a motion to approve these appointments by Chair Zelli to the Equity Advisory Committee?
So moved.
It's been moved by Councilmember Pacheco.
Second.
And seconded by Councilmember Osman. Any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Councilmember.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair, members. I had the privilege of sitting in on the interviews for to replace this and get up to our capacity of 21. The advisory committee is a very much needed committee, and we have people from the communities who put on the time, read the materials, come in, and as you know how much time that takes. So it's a capacity of up to 21, and I think we haven't had quorum in a long time. I think after some people have removed, we haven't replaced them right away. So we're really looking forward to having full staff on board, our full members on board. Lila Telwilly, and I get this wrong most days, and Tori Hampton put together the interviews. We interviewed over 20-some people. I didn't sit through all of them, but most of them. And there were some very, very good candidates. I'm really looking forward to working with them as they go forward. So I support this motion and thank the staff for putting the work in and putting together the candidate list and all of the interviews to make this thing possible.
Wonderful, good work. I'm glad to see so many people interested in being on the advisory committee. So all in favor of these appointments?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay, that motion carries. Thank you so much, and that ends all of our business for today.
Madam Chair?
Go ahead, Councilmember.
Madam Chair, if I could, I failed to recognize an important part of the group that was part of the review for the equity grant requests, and we had several members of MPOSC who participated in that, and I wanted to note that. They put in a lot of hours as MPOSC members as it is, but they put in even more as a part of this grant process. So I want to note that and express appreciation to them, and I apologize for not mentioning them earlier.
Well, I'm glad that you did. Thank you so much. Any other comments from council members or reports? How about our regional administrator, Ryan?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just briefly, we'll make sure the comments tonight too find their way back specifically to the project office as well, as some of those comments are tied there. And I don't know how we normally talk about that, so I'm just going to say it out loud this time, that that's on the list to follow up. Two quick updates. Sorry, I'm going to get this right. Councilmember Carter, she's drilled into my head for commissioner for a long time, but I'll get it out. Councilmember Carter and Councilmember Carter went on a tour that I was on a couple weeks back. I didn't get a chance to mention it, but shout out to the environmental services staff. We did the Metro wastewater tour. That was a recent piece of work, and just a remarkable amount of work happening there, and the strategy of where the organization continues to go, how you can see how water day to day is kept clean across our region, and frankly, on behalf of service to this entire country, as it then flows downstream through a lot of other states of the Gulf of Mexico. It was really a remarkable opportunity to see the work in action, but also talk about where we continue to go, where we need to go, how we need to continue to think about the size of our flood wall as we move ahead. Really important work, and thanks to the council members who were a part of that day as well. And then finally, from back in about 2 weeks ago, just wanted to make final mention from the Community Development Committee. It came up, and this was a mention that both Councilmember Lilligren and Lisa Barajas had wanted to make, just to mention on behalf of everyone, that in the productive work with North Oaks, they've withdrawn their amendment that was previously under some consideration. You've all been aware of that process. It took a long time to reach that point in the process, but that's sometimes is how it works as well. And we appreciate the continued work from all parties to get to that point. Just wanted to highlight for you a positive resolution, and we appreciate everyone being a part of that discussion and keeping a regional lens on important conversations happening here locally. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Well, thank you for sharing those items. Anybody else? General Counsel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will pass.
Okay, thank you. That ends all of our business items for today, so our meeting is adjourned.